So today our meeting is quite unusual, I should say, because today we have not only 3 prepared speeches, today we have 4. And I want you to welcome our guest speaker, Zachary with his speech.
I'm so happy to be here. I come here about once a year and feels like I'm coming home every time. It's like my dacha. I'm out here in the summer. I am an English teacher in Moscow, and every once in a while I Skype my family, my father and my mother, and I say, you know, I'm having a lot of fun out here. And they would say, well, what are you doing? I would say, well, I'm teaching English. You know, I've been here 6 years. And they say, still teaching English. Just teaching English. But is it really just teaching English? Or could it be deeper than that? I suspect that actually English is me teaching how to think. And in some situations, what to think. Because you can't actually think without language. Right? You can try. You can try your best to create something. You can try your best to learn something. But the first thing you have to do is learn the vocabulary. You have to learn how to process thoughts. And you have to, of course, learn the best way to articulate your thoughts. And that's after speech. Now, as it may turn out, I did not plan to come here, actually. This was not the American dream, you can say. It's not coming to Moscow. It's living in America, growing up, have a family, have a house, have 4 cars, a dog and a cat and kids and everything. Right? So how did I end up here? How did I turn out in Moscow? I'll tell you that story. I was living with my mom and my little brothers right around the time I graduated. And I was working at a bank, and I saw no light at the end of the tunnel, if you know what I mean. Sitting behind a desk, taking phone calls from clients, explaining, I'm sorry, sir, there's nothing I can do to help you. Right? That was my main phrase I used in everyday life. I saw the opportunity to escape, actually, and you may think it's strange. I escaped America and I ran to Moscow. Rather strange, but too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, turns out. And I've learned quite a bit since I've been in Moscow. I consider myself an American boy and a Russian man, actually. Because I moved here when I was 20, and that's kind of when you become a man, 20 to 27, you can say. My mom very casually mentioned to me one day, you know what? You should study abroad. Be a good idea. And I thought, okay, why not? I'll try it. I go straight to the computer, I Google, study abroad, physics, because that's what I was studying. And the first site that popped up, it was University of Albany, and they were offering exchange courses in MGU, in Moscow State University. So I applied, and to be honest, it was pretty miraculous that I got accepted. University of San Diego is not nearly as prestigious as University of Maryland, University of Kentucky. I know it sounds nice because it's in California, but there are better schools than University of San Diego. And they accepted me. I was very fortunate to arrive in Moscow. I didn't know anything when I got to Moscow. No Russian, nothing at all. And it was the immersion process, which means I immersed myself in the culture, and that's how I actually ended up learning. So how did I end up teaching English? I didn't have any money when I arrived in Moscow. At the time, it was 28 rubles for $1. That was the exchange rate. And I was studying at MGU, and one of the other students mentioned to me that there is an opportunity to teach English and to make a little bit of money. I thought, why not? Couldn't hurt. I know English pretty well. It's kind of easy for me to talk. And so I tried it. And it worked out pretty well, and they were paying me pretty well. Right now, it's much less, right? Because it's 60 rubles for $1, and it's not nearly as satisfying. But I ended up loving my job a lot. And essentially what I do is I get paid to talk, just like you and me right now, except you would buy me a coffee when we go to the cafe. That's required. Well, maybe not. I also ended up going back to the United States. After I studied MBU, I graduated, continued working at this bank. And this is when we go back to my story before, how I moved back to Moscow. I quit my job, I sold my car, and I basically told my parents goodbye about a month before. And you can imagine, my father has the American dream. He's got everything he can imagine, except he's never traveled. And so, in his worldview, everywhere is dangerous, except for San Diego, right? Everywhere is a dangerous place. You shouldn't go there, there are gangsters. You shouldn't go there, it's Russian mafia. You shouldn't go here or there. And you can only imagine, now it's much worse. The news is much more absurd now than it was at that time. But I convinced my parents I'm not crazy. I'm young and I want to go adventure and maybe I'll come back and get my master's or something. Right? It can happen. I fell in love with Moscow. It was a long process. It took about 3 years, and I hated just about everything for the first 3 years. I hated the traffic, I hated the metro, I hated the police stopping me with their sticks pointing. You know what I'm talking about. They point their little stick at you and you have to stop. And I have this internal American spirit. Why are you stopping me? I didn't do anything. But in Russia, you don't get to ask that question, right? You're automatically guilty. And they stop you and they question you. Yeah, guilty until proven innocent. That's the Russian way. Now, you might want to know, why did I continue teaching English? Because I could have stopped. I could have went back and continued working at the bank, tricking people into giving me their money. And yes, it is a little bit dishonest. I was earning commission, and we would employ methods. We call them employing methods, but it really means lying. Okay? I continued it because I love it, and it's been a life-changing experience. Actually, I wouldn't change a thing. I don't regret anything. Thank you very much.